Political systems and regimes. Introduction. Understanding political systems and regimes is essential for analyzing how power is distributed and exercised in societies. Political systems shape the rules by which societies are governed, while regimes denote the specific configurations of institutions and authorities that define a government structure. Together, they provide a framework for understanding variations in governance across time and space, and for assessing their stability, legitimacy, and effectiveness. This essay explores the definitions, classifications, and functions of political systems and regimes, drawing comparisons between democratic and authoritarian models, examining hybrid regimes, and addressing the challenges posed by regime transitions, populism, and authoritarian resilience in the 21st century. 1. Defining political systems and regimes. A political system refers to the comprehensive structure through which a society organizes, exercises, and legitimizes political power. It encompasses the constitution, government institutions, political parties, interest groups, and legal frameworks. A political regime, in contrast, is the set of rules, norms, and institutions that determine the relationship between the state and its citizens. It governs how leaders are selected, how authority is exercised, and what rights and freedoms citizens enjoy. While the political system provides the broad canvas, the regime defines the specific operating system. That may change without overhauling the entire system. For example, when a democracy deteriorates into an illiberal or authoritarian form while retaining constitutional features. 2. Typologies of political systems. Political scientists commonly classify political systems according to the distribution of power and participation mechanisms. 2.1. Democracy. Democracy is characterized by free and fair elections, rule of law, political pluralism, and protection of civil liberties. 2 principal forms include presidential system. The executive is independent of the legislature, with a directly elected president, e.g., United States, Brazil. Parliamentary system. The executive emerges from the legislature, typically led by a prime minister, e.g., United Kingdom, India. 2.2. Authoritarianism. Authoritarian systems concentrate power in a single authority or a small group, often suppressing dissent and manipulating institutions. Key features include absence of free elections, restricted civil liberties, centralized control over media and judiciary. Examples include China, a one-party state, and Saudi Arabia, absolute monarchy. 2.3. Totalitarianism, a more extreme form of authoritarianism. Totalitarian regimes seek total control over all aspects of life, political, social, economic, and cultural, using coercion, surveillance, and propaganda. Historic examples include Stalinist USSR and Nazi Germany. 2.4. Hybrid regimes, illiberal democracies. Hybrid or semi-authoritarian regimes display both democratic and authoritarian traits. They may hold elections but undermine the rule of law, constrain media, freedom, and suppress opposition. Examples include Hungary, Turkey, and Russia under Putin. 3. Regime classification by scholars. 3.1. Robert Dahl's polyarchy. Dahl introduced the concept of polyarchy to describe modern representative democracy with 2 essential dimensions: public contestation, freedom to form and join organizations, freedom of expression, and fair elections, inclusiveness, the right to participate in elections and influence decisions. 3.2. Freedom House and Polity 4. Organizations like Freedom House and Polity 4 assess countries on scales of political freedom and democratic accountability. These indexes help in mapping regime changes and identifying democratic backsliding. 4. Democratic regimes, features and variants. 4.1. Liberal democracies. Liberal democracies uphold the rule of law, independent judiciary, minority rights, and a free press. They often have strong institutional checks and balances, including separation of powers. 4.2. Direct versus representative democracy. Direct democracy involves direct participation in decision-making. G. Swiss referenda. Representative democracy entrusts decision-making to elected officials, with mechanisms of accountability through elections. 4.3. Participatory and deliberative democracy. These emphasize deeper citizen engagement through deliberation, public forums, and participatory budgeting, aiming to enhance legitimacy and responsiveness. 5. Authoritarian and totalitarian regimes. Authoritarian regimes differ in their institutional designs and strategies of control. Wan Lin's distinguished types based on leadership, pluralism, and ideology. Military regimes governed by the armed forces e.g. Myanmar pre-2011. Single-party states dominated by one legal political party e.g. Vietnam. Personalist regimes centered around a charismatic or authoritarian leader e.g. North Korea. Theocratic regimes, religious law, forms the basis of rule e.g. Iran. Totalitarian regimes extend control into private life and demand ideological conformity using mass mobilization, surveillance, and repression. 6. Hybrid regimes and democratic backsliding. Hybrid regimes often emerge from democratic transitions that stall or reverse. They may retain democratic institutions while subverting their function. Features include electoral manipulation, media repression, judicial capture, civil society harassment. Democratic backsliding refers to the erosion of democratic institutions, norms, and values. Contemporary examples include Hungary's erosion of judicial independence and India's increasing censorship and authoritarian populism. 7. Transitions and regime change. 7.1. Democratization. The process through which a non-democratic regime becomes democratic. Key theories include modernization theory. Economic development leads to democracy. Elite bargaining transitions, negotiated between authoritarian elites and opposition. Structuralist approaches emphasize institutions, class structures, and international influences. 7.2. Authoritarian resilience. Some authoritarian regimes adapt to survive by allowing limited pluralism, using digital surveillance, offering performance-based legitimacy, co-opting opposition. China is a key case of authoritarian resilience through economic delivery, nationalism, and digital control. 8. Contemporary challenges. 8.1. Populism. Populist leaders challenge liberal democratic norms by claiming to represent the will of the people against elites. Populism can manifest on the left or right, and often undermines institutional checks and media freedom. 8.2. Digital autocracy. New technologies enable authoritarian regimes to surveil, manipulate public opinion, and repress dissent. The rise of AI-driven surveillance and digital firewalls is altering the nature of control. 8.3. Global democratic recession. The world has witnessed a global decline in democratic quality, with growing autocratization, weakened civil liberties, and disillusionment with political institutions. This democratic recession raises questions about the resilience of democratic regimes. Conclusion. Political systems and regimes are central to how societies organize power, make decisions, and relate to their citizens. While democracy remains the most aspirational and legitimized form of government, it faces mounting challenges from authoritarianism, populism, and technological disruption. Understanding the nuances and dynamics of political regimes allows scholars and policymakers to better navigate transitions, defend democratic institutions, and anticipate future developments in governance. As global political orders shift and contestations intensify, the study of political systems and regimes remains indispensable for promoting accountable, inclusive, and resilient governance structures.